Have you ever had to kill thousands of robots and beasts just to get to your date in time? Well, then you've probably played B.O.B or B.O.B, whatever it is called. I am going to beat every one of the over 2000 SNES games ever released, and a randomizer told me to start with this one. In B.O.B you play as this weird robot ant that seems to be one of the most annoying teenagers ever. It gets its father's car, drives off to its date, and only needs a few minutes to crash and land on a strange and hostile planet. If you ask me, I would just walk back home again, text my date that I can't make it, but that would be too easy, I guess. So B.O.B, or B.O.B, I'm gonna call him B.O.B now, has to jump and shoot its way through those levels with a pretty strict time limit. Seems fair since we don't want to be late for our date. I really don't know why he had those guns in his car, but who am I to judge? Maybe he's just American.
America, fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah!
This time we can be lucky for having a big armory, because nearly everything on our way is trying to kill B.O.B. And since this bug-like robot has no invincibility frames after getting hit, it is pretty easy to get killed in no time. Especially when you wasted all your ammo on everything crossing your way. But that is not the only challenge. Sometimes there's a level where you have to drive a little spaceship through a big maze. While there are lasers everywhere, you can't slow down too much because the time limit is pretty strict. Because of that, I exploded near the end of the level and had to fly way better through this mess. Luckily, the next try went a lot smoother because I could remember a lot of the obstacles. It got pretty close nonetheless. Komm schon! 10 Sekunden wieder noch! Komm, Raumschiff! Das ist die Zielgerade! 5, 4, 3... Wann ist das hier zu Ende? Da! The game got my heart pumping right from the start, and I hated every one of those pesky enemies. Every now and then I just blanked, had to do a leap of faith, and couldn't react fast enough before I crashed into a deadly pool of goo. It didn't take long for me to say that I would freak out if there were any boss fights in this game as well. And what can I say?
No! No, 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 no! Well, yes.
I jinxed it. So only a few moments later I had to fight this mechanic dragon head. The fight was pretty easy because I found some ammo for a triple shot that took care of it pretty well, but it's a boss nonetheless. Maybe I got a little too cocky because of that easy win. The next 3 levels went pretty smooth. I finished them on the first try and thought that now I understood the game, its mechanics, and even learned to use some of the sub-weapons like bounce pads or helicopter heads. There are also bombs, umbrellas and invincibility shields, but they will become handy much more later. So I got into this new level and encountered another boss fight. And what can I say? This bug thing destroyed me. And that was when I realized that I lose all my special weapons when I die, because the weapons I got right before the fight weren't enough to take this beast down. I did over and over again until I realized that I had to use a continue, get teleported back to the last password, because that's where you end up after losing all your lives. Repeat the levels before the boss without dying and try again with all the good weapons. That was also the moment when I decided to use save states. You know, there are over 2000 games I have to beat, and I really don't want to spend all my time raging about the first one. So I went through all those levels, got to the boss with all those nice weapons, and
Oh no! We suck again!
yep, it was still tough as nails. The first part, where I had to destroy its little holes where all the worms fell out, was pretty easy, but I still needed a few tries before I stopped using the flamethrower and trusted my homing missiles. B.O.B finally slaughtered this bug and got to a sweet pink car to finally get to the date. But of course the car fell apart. So we are on a new space island now. Instead of those big factories and slime temples, there are pyramid-like stages full of traps that kill you in one hit, and enemies that can punch you to the next wall even if it is like light years away. Besides, the pyramids, there are those big red cities under a dome full of dangerous machines again, and after dying because of those junk piles over and over again, I finally started to use the beautiful invincibility shield. Dude, this item is awesome for so many parts in the game. Now, no enemy can harm me, no fall is too dangerous, and even bosses aren't able to hurt me through it. So I finally got past this robots just fall to my doom again. Should have used my helicopter head. Should have used it during the fall and not in the small hallway before.
Who does that?
Time for another type of level. Let's travel inside a big volcano. Sure. I hope this date is worth it. Firebirds, lava monsters and collapsing platforms. I don't know about you, but in my opinion, this is no place for a robotic ant. It is a wonder that none of my ammo explodes, but all in all I would say I did pretty well again. Especially my skills with the secondary items improved. I started to like the umbrella as a great help to not crash into the lava or other deadly pools. But every time I feel comfortable with this game, there will be a level to get me back on the ground. I found my nemesis, the punching heads I mentioned earlier. Suddenly they appeared in places where a punch would throw me into deadly traps. They were everywhere and I got frustrated again, and if that wasn't enough, I got to another of those space race levels, but this time it was way bigger and more confusing. Made it first try, but my stress level was through the roof. I needed something to cheer me up, anything, and it came in the form of the next boss. A crawling face with a freaking long tongue that tried to French kiss me. The slimy goo it left on the floor reminded me a bit of my first kiss ever. Shoutouts to Sabrina for that experience. It even got a second phase where it wanted to stomp me, but my little flamethrower was everything I needed.
And that is how it's done.
Finally, the boost of self-esteem I needed. I rushed through the next few levels and got to another boss pretty shortly after that. And when there are volcano levels, you have to fight a lava monster. That is a video game law. But it was pretty easy to trick this beast into doing what I wanted. With well-timed jumps I could make it face in the wrong direction nearly every time to shoot it in the back. Screw the gentleman's code, I would say. I had to get to my date. But there was no car. Only more pyramids and dangerous cities that took me to another boss. This time, I had to fight an even bigger robotic ant. I don't know if it was family, but it was in my way. I had to kill it. Problem was that it had more phases than any boss before. It started with a little robot to get me warmed up. Then this giant ant tried to squash me with its hands, and after I destroyed them, it attacked me with its head. And even after getting that energy bar to 0, the head started to jump and made a pancake out of B.O.B. Luckily, I found out that one of my weapons was the strongest of the whole game. I always thought it was just another form of my triple shot, but those 3 energy waves teared a hole in this giant ant. After that, I finally got another car. This is it, right? This has to be it, is what I thought, but...
You're doing good. It ain't got no gas in it.
So again, we crash on a weird island with new kind of levels. The first is a pretty gooey place full with shooting pimples, flies and reverse vacuum cleaners that will blast you in one direction. Like, for real, there are bullets everywhere. Without save states, it would take me ages to learn those levels and get to those bosses with enough ammunition. It took some time to beat this level. The city after that was no problem again. Seems like I'm a city person in general. And then the last kind of stage appeared. A mushroomy maze full of bubbles, hordes of enemies and no clear sign where to go. Are you kidding me? Especially the flying donuts were a total pain in my butthole. So I found a way around them just to be greeted by some strange grey balls that killed me in the blink of an eye. It was pretty obvious that the bosses weren't my biggest problem anymore. The levels on this last island, it just had to be, were way too hard. Want a proof? Just look at this boss fight. It was a whole bunch of skeletons that wanted to kill me with guns and martial arts. Gun Fu was here way before John Wick. And I learned a new trick here. When firing my triple shot, there can only be one shot on the screen at a time. But when I am directly next to an enemy, I can spam my shots. So the health bar of those skeletons just melted away. Even their jumping head armada was no problem. Sure, the invincibility was quite useful, but that doesn't mean I have no skill. Up to the next spaceship level, where I can ram a lot of walls and robots. Awesome. I'm in kind of a love-hate relationship with these levels. On the one hand, the time limit is really tight. On the other hand, it's not so dangerous to speed through. There are health pickups in useful locations, and the only real danger is to get lost. But I made it without any big struggles in the last second. Nice. Right now, every level with a short time limit was a big relief. It meant that there aren't so many obstacles to overcome and that it was possible to get to the finish pretty fast. The big levels are the problem. So the next stages weren't that bad. It even introduced a new mechanic, bubbles. You can jump into it and float up in the air. Of course it started pretty harmless, but Bob would not be Bob if it would stay that way. The difficulty was ramped way up and I died constantly. If I wouldn't use save states, I probably would have ripped all my hair out. You had to use all of your skills, perfect platforming, shooting, and using the secondary gadgets in the right time. There was nothing in those levels that didn't want to kill Bob. So it was only a matter of time until I reached the next boss. A big alien skeleton shooting from every opening of its body, like me when I have the diarrhea. The design was pretty cool and the whole screen was full of shots, but I had so many seeking missiles and invincibility shields that it was defeated in a very short time. It wanted to kill me with its head alone after that, but my super weapon took pretty good care of it in seconds. Another spaceship level was on my way, and this time it was really hard to not get lost. I needed a few tries to find my way on time. It seemed like this last world just never ends. And then the worst thing happened. In one of the hardest levels the game had to offer, I didn't load my save state after dying. I overrode it. Nein! Oh Gott. Ich hab gespeichert.
Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! You have fucked up now! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up!
So there I was, with only my standard blaster and nothing else in this goddamn hellhole, shooting flies and pimples everywhere without ammo to kill that stuff. I had to be patient and couldn't waste any shot. I slowly made it further and further until I got to a place that just killed me every time. I had to take some reverse vacuum cleaners, but they blew me right into some air mines every time. It took some time until I realized that I can also use my invincibility while being blown away. I know I'm one of the slower kinds. So finally, after 30 minutes of pure struggle, I made it to the exit and reached the next boss. At first, it was this weird wheel that pushed me all around the stage. I had no idea how to dodge it because it seemed so big and even my jumps weren't high enough sometimes. My shield helped me out a lot, but I didn't want to waste it. Lucky for me, there were many ammo icons during the fight for me to collect. So I got enough weapons to blast this thing to smithereens and it became this weird squid? I got really nervous, but weirdly enough, I found this perfect spot where I could stand and shoot without it ever hitting me. And it got destroyed. I don't mind.
That went slightly better than the worst it could have possibly gone, so hooray!
After that I finally found another car, and this time it didn't break or anything. Bob finally arrived at his date. This big-lipped woman was pretty angry, so our aunt just took off after the next best girl. For real? This whole struggle for that. Like I said in the beginning, I would have turned around to get back home as soon as possible instead of going through all this torture, but well, here we are. We have beaten the first of over 2,000 SNES games and I can go over to the next one. Ja! 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 Nummer 1! Spiel Nummer 1! Ist geschafft, Leute! Oh! Leck mich an den Füß! Ah! I hope you liked this video. If you do, please leave a like and tell me if you knew this game. And if you don't want to miss the next video, just subscribe to my channel. It would help me out a lot and I would appreciate it. You can even come over to my Twitch streams. They are in German, but if you don't understand anything, just tell me and I can talk English as well. So, thank you very much for watching and until next time, the next game will be the SNES game, of course, called Lagoon. Again, a randomizer told me to beat it, so yeah, we will see how that goes.